Okay folks, so in this video I'm going to give a couple suggestions for the Tower of Adversity and just ways I think it can get even better. I love the way it is now. I know a lot of people aren't so big of a fan of it, but I really enjoy it. Like this one in particular, this is my favorite floor that I've ever done in the Tower of Adversity. When you're trying not to get hit, it really doesn't matter. Like that's what I love the most. I just enjoy this so much. And so when you get it down, it just like it really feels like an anime fight. And that's why I played this game in the first place. That's what action combat is to me. So my suggestion is we really focus on these things instead of meaning the mob setups, because once the boss shows up, it's boring again. Like I've already killed this boss so many times. Once I beat the holograms, he's never going to hit me again. So but it took me forever to no hit that group, and just like it took forever to no hit these little guys because it was so hard to see when they were actually starting to shoot and then trying to keep them together. It's like the mob setups, they have such good enemies in this game, and I feel like they just don't take enough advantage yet. Well, they haven't fully taken advantage of how fun that can be. Like, when you're out in the world and you're fighting the red mist enemies, or even just when you just come across a group of enemies, if you try not to get hit while you're in the overworld, the overworld becomes very intense because even when you get like the different exile setups where you have the shooters in the back, and then the guy that keeps setting the ground on fire, and then the girl putting the shield and she pulls people, I'm like, that's to me is so much better still than like any of the bosses, because the bosses you just get so used to them so fast, but the mob combat can be so dynamic. And I think the Tower of Adversity would be so much better if it just focused on the mobs and don't give them a ton of HP, but just add enough of them and add them in enough of a variety that it becomes challenging just to figure out, all right, who do I take out first? And especially make them lethal enough that you can't just absorb all their damage, just like the holograms. So, let me make sure I've explained that enough. Well, yeah, make them easy enough to kill that it's not annoying, right? But it reminds me of playing like Halo on Legendary. I don't know if anybody remembers that, or if I'm obviously much older than probably most of the people playing the game. But the things that stood out to me the most on a lot of my favorite games like Devil May Cry and Halo and even Resident Evil was very rarely the boss. It was that one room that had a mob setup that was almost impossible to get by, and it was like such a mental challenge to figure out, okay, who do I take out first? Because once the mobs start working together, they're so much stronger than the bosses. Like if you've bumped into the two white wolves, and then you got the little ice cube guys jumping around, or even when it's just that one spot where the two white wolves have the other three flame wolves or whatever they are, dogs around them, or when you're fighting the two birds and you have three different of the prisms and things like that. Like all of those spots are so much more intense than the bosses for me. It's like the boss, once you've learned it in the first half hour, they never hit you again. But those mobs, having to keep your eye on 5 different things, especially I would love if they added some elevation changes in environment to the end game. Like that was one of the things I thought was kind of a waste, that when you have an end game in an open world game and none of the modes actually are in the open world, it's just an opportunity missed. But that's a whole different whole different show. But that's my suggestion for one. Yeah, I can leave it there. I'll expand on it more in the comments, or I might even show more demonstrations in future videos. But I just really want to put the idea out there that focusing on the mob combat, I think is going to be a great way to kind of take the other piece that they haven't. Like they've perfected the boss combat. The holograms are perfect. Everyone loves them. But see, like even like here, it's just like I was juggling them, but I had to come if I didn't want to get hit, I have to come and take care of the shooter. Now I've got them all together. It's just so much fun. And this is even in the open world. It's just, yeah, they were a little too squishy, but hopefully you get the point. So let me know what you think. What kind of mob setups would you like to see? Would you even like to see a mode like that where it was really focused on the mobs? Because I really feel like they get underrepresented in these games. It comes down to, or you just get the same like very simple mob setup, but they just don't die. They do that a lot with Genshin. They kind of do it a little bit in Tower Adversity. It's like you're not really capitalizing on putting a little thought into it like a puzzle, okay, what enemies when we put together, they become a lethal combo. Like these two are so annoying. Like when you're trying not to get hit by these two, yeah, groups of exiles would make such great content for the tower, because between the constant attacks, you know, if they have the other, there's a couple of them, a couple of spots where you like go into the little different exile camps and they have all of them like shooting at you, and this guy with his kind of annoying to read attacks and her putting the shields on people, and then you know, it's like it's so great. Like it's such great combat. I really want an end game mode that really focuses on that, and tower seems perfect for it. Then you just make sure that you just reward people for attempting, you know, take the pressure off people, incentivize effort, incentivize attempts, and people will get better. You know, they will pass the skill issue. But if you use the skill issue as a punishment, then they're just going to stop playing. Because like, you know what I mean? That if you take that pressure off and say, okay, as long as you try, you'll get the gems, which is the reason you're playing the game. It's the way you're going to be able to keep up with the game. So you're incentivized to just keep trying. Through that trying, you're eventually going to start getting used to all the different attacks. You're going to want to get better. And then leave enough of an incentive where, you know, your boss mats, your echo XP, there's so much in the game that they can give to reward you for actually passing the skill check, that they don't have to use the gems as part of the skill check, so that no one has a reason to say, I can't do that mode, I'm just going to ignore it. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I think, a better way to get people to raise their skill level is by making sure that, well, all I have to do is try. Like, I've seen that done in a lot of games, like even with PvP games. A lot of times the PvP and MMOs, the most popular systems were the ones that didn't punish you for losing. They rewarded you just for playing. Like, you know, all you had to do was go out and play and try. And then if you did a certain amount of damage, that was your next reward level. So no one was just going to AFK, because like, well, as long as I hit them a couple times, I'm going to get even better rewards, but I'm not going to miss anything out, even if I get one shot or 100 to 0. So anyway, tell me what you think of those ideas. Would you like to see more mob focused endgame modes? Do you think the mobs are great in Wuthering Waves? Even know what I'm talking about. Have you actually even fought them, the mobs enough to recognize all the different things that they can do? I'd love to see it. I would also love to hear your feedback, and you know, tweak the idea in case anyone doesn't agree, or you know, take account in whatever your other great suggestions are and add them to my feedback. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.